So one of the biggest reasons that people fail when it comes to weight loss, it's not because they don't know what to do, it's because they don't know what to expect on the weight loss journey. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a number of milestones, mental milestones with time frames so that you can look ahead and plan for what's coming up. Because once you understand what's coming up ahead of time, you can actually slow yourself down mentally and emotionally. Because one of the things I've seen a lot of people do with weight loss, women over 50 in particular, is get ahead of themselves, and they're like a bull in a china shop. And by the end of week one, people are anticipating they've lost all this weight, and when they haven't achieved it, they give up. Or maybe they give themselves maybe 3 or 4 weeks and then they give up. But if you understand what's coming up, you can actually slow yourself down, put on your marathon running shoes so that you're better prepared for the journey ahead. So let's dive into what those mental milestones are and what the actual time frames are. So what I'd like to do is have a pen and paper handy so you can actually write some of these weeks down so that you have a working document that you can refer back to when you're going through your weight loss journey. Let's dive into them now. Okay, so the first mental milestone, emotional barrier that you have to overcome is one that probably 80% of people never get beyond, and that's making the mental shift to be able to actually lose weight. And what do I mean by making a mental shift? Well, you may have experienced this before. When you're in that kind of zone where you definitely decide you're going to lose weight, and if somebody were to offer you your favourite thing, let's say a bar of chocolate that you would normally devour without even thinking about it, you can happily say, no thank you. I'm talking about being in that sort of place, that sort of bubble, because once you're in there, you can achieve some pretty amazing things. The question is, how long can you stay in there for? I had a client who made that mental mindset shift, name's Heather, and she went on and lost over 20 pounds in 12 weeks. Now, the thing to understand about the mental shift to get started is that you could be stuck on the other side of that fence for quite some time. It actually took Heather 6 years before she decided to make the decision. So please don't feel bad about it if you've been thinking about this for several weeks or several months, or maybe in the last 12 months you've been thinking about, should I get started? Is this right for me? Can I achieve it? It's perfectly normal. But when you do make that mental shift, you'll know you've made it, because suddenly, as I said earlier, you'll be able to say no thanks to certain types of food that you'd ordinarily eat. You'll also find yourself thinking and acting differently from people around you maybe that are not that conscious about trying to lose weight. So that is the first hurdle to overcome. It's making that mental shift to get started. And really we're talking about making that commitment that needs to be at least 12 weeks as a minimum. Okay, so you've made the mental mindset shift. Now we're going to talk about 3 milestones that are going to occur over the next 18 weeks. So weeks 0 to 6, we're talking about learning and practicing the basics. This is where mentally, emotionally, you have to be prepared to put the basic things in place. So your basic eating plan needs to be on point. You need to get that sorted out. Give yourself 6 weeks, which is more than enough time to get yourself organized there in terms of calorie intake, protein intake, getting some planning in place. It's not going to be perfect, but you should be able to put the basics in place. When it comes to exercise, again, getting your walking sorted out, your resistance training, all those things can be done at a basic level but need to be in place. And then the third thing is being very clear about what your goal is. In actual fact, that's the first thing, but very clear on what it is you're trying to achieve in terms of how you want to look and feel. So that's going to happen in the first 6 weeks. When you get to week number 12, this is the next milestone. This is where your level of belief needs to have gone up significantly. Why? Because when you get to week number 18, you're going to have to be faced with the next challenge, which is accepting the challenge. And at week 18, typically, you've had a pretty good run. Week 6, you've put the basics in place. Week 12, your belief level's gone quite high because you've lost a significant amount of weight. Now you're at week number 18. We're talking about accepting the challenge, and that's different for everybody I've ever worked with. For some people, the challenge is the working environment is a challenge. Their working hours are long, so that's been a big challenge for them. And for the previous 18 weeks, they've somehow been able to deal with that, but now it's a bit more of a challenge. So you have to accept that it's the reality. It may not be changing anytime soon, because once you accept it, we can do something about it. The next thing we need to take a look at is so the challenge of work, social life, or it might be a medical thing, it might be a family thing, it could be any number of things that you have to accept as a challenge. So that's all the way up to week number 18, from week 6 to week number 18. And then we move from week 19 and we go all the way through to week number 30. And we're talking about overcoming the challenge. So whatever the challenge is, you're now going to figure out how you're going to overcome it. Once you've figured out how you can overcome it in that, weeks 19 to week 30, we then move on to the next phase, which is week 30 to say week 36, week 42, which is living your lifestyle on automatic pilot. Because there has to come a point where your activities, your actions, what you're doing becomes more automated. I'm not saying you don't think about things, but they're far more automated. And when you get to that point, it just feels so much easier to lose weight. Not easy, but easier. And depending on how much weight you need to lose, you may still be in the weight loss phase, so you still need to be on it. Or you may have got to your ideal weight. Therefore, it's now a little bit more about managing the situation and making sure you don't slip back. And once you go beyond week number 42 and you're moving into week number 52 towards the latter part of the year, we're now talking about mastery. We're talking about really fine-tuning things so that come the second year, yes, there is a second year, you've gone through a whole 12 months, you're now ready to accept the new challenge of being at this new weight, this new level of fitness, wearing these new clothes, this different sort of confidence you have, the way people are maybe treating you differently. Now we need to get ready for that in year number 2. Before I share the third mental weight loss barrier that you have to conquer before you finally become successful at your weight loss, I just want to make you aware of a free Boost weight loss assessment that's available to you online. There's a link below this video. Just click on that, it'll take you to a page, answer a few simple questions, and you'll get back a personalized report that will help you to kickstart your mindset, your diet, and your exercise. You can do that at the end of this video. Okay, so the third thing that we need to be aware of to conquer when it comes to the weight loss journey is external factors, such as other people who can potentially sabotage your efforts. Now, there's a really simple way that I teach my clients to deal with this, and it's this. When they get started on their weight loss journey, do not tell anybody what they're doing apart from their significant other if they really have to. And why do I say that? I say that because once the cat's out of the bag that you're trying to lose weight, suddenly family, friends, work colleagues, anyone that knows you suddenly become fitness experts, diet experts, experts in how you look, how you present yourself, and it just becomes a complete and utter, or can become a complete and utter nightmare where people are just continually judging you, and you can feel like you're under pressure having to perform when you're out socially, being very mindful or very self-conscious about the fact that maybe you're eating something that maybe you shouldn't be eating or drinking. Whereas if you don't tell anybody what you're doing, you can eat and drink and be off the wagon, as it were, but nobody would ever know. And you have a heck of a lot more fun, and you also save a lot of emotional energy in not having to explain your actions to other people. Equally, when people start saying things like, oh, you look as though you've lost some weight there, you can just sort of brush it off. I tell my clients to say things like, oh yeah, no, I'm just been a bit more active and just watching my food a bit more. Move the conversation on. Don't give it any more time than you have to, because once people start digging in and they get the claws into you and they find out what you're doing, it's game, set and match. It's all over. So keep what you're doing to yourself. Do not expose yourself to unnecessary explanations that are just going to weigh you down emotionally, especially if people don't approve with what you're doing, or heaven forbid, they start to get a bit jealous about the success you're having. Now, in my next video, I'm going to speak about something that can really derail you, that is really personal to you. So if it's on the screen now, click on that video. It's going to be really useful for you. It's going to help you in this series of videos you've been watching. If it's not on the screen, then make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when I release that next video.